So before we keep going, I want to bring in someone who, even though she covers the league at large, you know her well. I want to bring in Khristina Williams, WNBA insider, because I know you know the Liberty very well. You're based in this market. So I really want to get your thoughts on the Liberty, because I think what you said was interesting. I'm curious how both of you feel about the fact that the Liberty, one, they lost Benai Hamilton due to injury, so she won't be playing for this season. Kayla Thornton left and went to the Valkyries because of the expansion draft. And even though the Liberty did add a new piece in Natasha Howard, and they are getting like Marine back, they're still.
You mean Natasha Cloud?
Who did I say?
Natasha Howard.
Oh my goodness, Natasha
all these
Cloud.
names,
Yes.
girl, these Tashas.
Natasha Cloud. So they added Natasha Cloud, and they're getting some players back. But with Eurobasket this year, and also like I don't even think, maybe you can confirm, Khristina, but I don't think when they start the season, even though she's back, Leonie Fevich is going to be playing. I just feel like they're going to have like a lot of pieces in and out of their roster this season. What impact, if any, do you think that will have on the team? Khristina, I'll give it to you, but T, I want to know what you think as well.
Well, hi, ladies. But just to get into the New York Liberty, obviously the news coming out this week with Benai Hamilton being suspended for the 2025 season, that's a huge blow. And she's suspended because she suffered a non-WNBA injury in the offseason. So the Liberty wanted to clear some cap space to be able to sign players in replacement of her. And so she was obviously a huge part of the New York Liberty's defense last year, a huge part of that championship run. So that's a major blow to the Liberty to lose a player who can impact both sides of the ball, and Benai Hamilton. And then Courtney Vandersloot was also a huge piece for the Liberty in the last 2 years to get to championship contention, one of the best point guards in the league, and she left in the offseason to go to Chicago. And so you bring in Natasha Cloud, and I think that that is one of the perfect point guards to bring in because she has championship experience. She's won in 2019 with the Washington Mystics. She's been able to build chemistry with some of the players at Unrivaled in the offseason. She impacts the game on both sides of the floor. We know Natasha Cloud as being a great defensive player, but in her own words, she's also a shooter. And so she's going to impact that right away. And a couple years ago, I used to stress how much the New York Liberty struggled on perimeter defense. Well, Natasha, she helps that a little bit because she can guard 1 through 4. And then you add in players like Maureen Johannes, who has been with the team, the longest tenured New York Liberty player. She's been around since the Westchester days. She told me last week that one of the things she worked on while with her national team last season was finishing at the rim, being more aggressive when she's driving downhill. So we're going to see a whole different level coming from Maureen Johannes, who's returned to the team. And then Rebecca Gardner. She missed the entire season last year due to an injury, and she's returning. But I think what gives her the advantage with being with the Liberty was she was able to observe the team through that championship run all last year. And she's a good defensive wing guard for the Liberty. We saw a little bit of her in the preseason, how great she was for the team. But I think the biggest challenge that's going to come for this New York Liberty team is the new offense that they're implementing. Coach Sandy Brandello talked about how that 5-out offense is going to be something that she's emphasizing this season. And while the Liberty will have an advantage because all of the players are versatile and interchangeable. They can shoot the 3. They can score on 3 levels, Jonquel Jones. I think that, and it challenges the opponent's defenses too by spreading out and spacing the floor. I think that the Liberty play best when they play through Jonquel Jones. And do you want to depend on her to shoot 3s, or do you want her to stay in the paint and score? And I think the Liberty, they're still a great team. They have most of their championship core. Brianna Stewart is Brianna Stewart. JJ's going to JJ. Sab, we saw a new level from her last year with her defense and being a 3-level scorer. So I think that this team is in a great position. I actually think they're in a better position this year than last year.
Oh.
You know what? I would agree with that, Khristina. And honestly, the one player who neither one of us really talked about, but to add on to what you were saying, is Isabel Harrison, right? Like, you lose a Kayla Thornton, but you get an Izzy Harrison who can do what Kayla Thornton does, and honestly, I believe can be a bit more effective on the offensive end. And so I think that they have like kind of strengthened their team a little bit while it may look a little different. I would agree with that I think they probably are in a better position this year to defend their title than they are last year when trying to acquire it.
Oh, okay. That's
And can I
fascinating.
also add Leonie Theobald as well? I know I didn't mention her,
Yeah.
but I feel like the team is going to expect her to raise her game to another level this season. We saw what happened in game 5 with her and Niara. So I think those two
Yeah.
players are going to take a huge leap. And then Kennedy Burke off the bench. I actually think that their second unit is stronger this year than last year when it comes to the play in preseason. We saw Marquisha Davis, Jalen Sherrod, just the leap that they take. And Jalen had a stint at Athletes Unlimited
Yep.
and Marquisha went overseas, they got better. So I think that this second unit for the Liberty is definitely blowing a lot of benches out by a long haul. And I'm making that prediction that they have one of the strongest second units in the league right now.
Yeah, that's interesting because I like really pay attention to like what a lot of New York fans say, and they're actually a little concerned about the roster right now. So I would
Mm.
still think that they should be considered the best team in the league, but it's interesting to hear how your perspective is different. And I know fans kind of always
Yeah.
go overboard, but
Well,
it's
Natalie,
interesting.
when you say concerned, I don't think the Liberty are going to come out the gates right and just start winning in the first half of the season. We've seen over the last 2 seasons that they always start out slow. They're not necessarily always winning. It's always that second half of the season that after the All-Star break where you see the Liberty kind of turn a heel and then they
Mhm.
get into like that playoff mode. We see a different version of the team. I think that in the past, what happened was a lot of the rosters wasn't healthy these last 2 seasons coming out the gate from the start of the season. And outside of Benijah Laney Hamilton, most of the players are pretty much at 100%. I know Brianna Stewart, she just had a surgery a couple months ago and still working her way in to the team. But I think Liberty fans don't expect them to come out the gate winning every single game. They have to build that chemistry. It's going to be a slow start, but they've always had slow starts if you look at the last 2 seasons.
Well, yeah, and starting out the gate hot doesn't necessarily mean much. I mean, last season the Connecticut Sun started off the season 9-0.
Right.
And you know what I mean? So it really is a balance, and personnel plays a huge role with that. And to your point, Khristina, this year not only are they healthy, but in some previous seasons, we needed to see a lot from particular players in order to keep the Liberty balanced. For a while, that player was Brianna Stewart, where she pretty much had to felt like put the team on her back. And as the team continued later and later into the season, you could see that you start to tire, you start to get fatigued. At some point it felt like Jonquel Jones had to be the person to step up continually. But what I do think is that they've constructed their roster in a way to where their second unit can be a bit more impactful, and depth is everything. Depth is what helps to get teams to the finals. Depth is what helped get this team a WNBA championship last year. So again, I agree. I don't really have much to add to what Khristina said because I think we agree on a lot of the same points.